I've now had 3 companies reaching out to me on LinkedIn. Different recruiters, different names, but they have one thing in common. During the interview process, they did the same thing, 3 of them. They asked me to clone and run their code locally on my machine so I can review. And here is the weirdest part. 2 of these companies have the same code for me to review, just under different names. Once again, 2 different separate recruiters, different companies, asking me to copy and run the code locally. And I see that this is exactly the same code, except for the name of the project. At this point, I realized something is off. And I want to share with you guys what I think about all of that and conclusions that I came to. For the context, I'm a design engineer. And it's absolutely normal for me to run the code and review it and work with it and change the behavior of different components on the UI layer so we can be as close to the final user experience as possible. So it's not suspicious by itself that different companies during the interview process asking me to review their code. But to clone and run the full stack application locally just to review the user flow and components interaction, that's absolutely weird. So this is how it actually went, and I will share my direct experience with 3 of these companies. 2 examples are absolutely identical, so we can consider them as one. And the third is actually a little more sophisticated, I would say, so I explain it separately. The first 2 happened probably 4 months ago, something like that. I decided not to share because it was not that significant at this point, but now after the third one, I think there is a time for me to actually share it with you guys. Because you all should be warned, and we all should be warned. They are now targeting developers and designers. These scammers are getting more and more sophisticated. And look, if you're a junior or middle developer and you kind of don't feel really comfortable in a code, or you maybe feel not just comfortable going through the interview process, it can definitely affect you. So I hope this video will be helpful for you and you can protect yourself from these scammers. Let's have a look at LinkedIn. So this guy, I'm blurring out his name, is reaching out to me, available for the job opportunity, all the LinkedIn stuff. It's all good. Yes, I'm interested. I'm going further, sending my CV. It's smart and clear. Thank you, bro. And then he's saying that they have already developed an MVP. Sounds great. So he's inviting me to his GitHub. My GitHub is public, why not? And asking me to review the code. So obviously, he expects me to run this code locally. Of course, I didn't do it. The proper way to behave in these situations, if you still guys are interested in a job opportunity, maybe it's just a poorly designed company, maybe they just don't have a development culture, whatever reason can happen. I decided to run this code, but obviously not on my local machine, so I created the isolated Docker environment. This is what I suggest for you. I disabled all the network calls. This is very simple. And you just run this in isolated environment, so nothing of your personal data is being exposed to any scripts or any type of things that can be executed from this code. Going further, I'm giving them my product review. It's all good. Then asking for the feedback. Okay, they decided to go with the next candidate. But here we come to the interesting part. Only 1 month later, the other guy is reaching out to me on a LinkedIn with exactly the same proposal. Look at it. Available for the job opportunity. We are looking for the product manager. Nothing on my profile stands that I am available for the product manager job. However, why not? I want to explore the team. I want to explore the project. Why not? So I'm proceeding. I'm saying, yes, I'm available, blah, 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 all the LinkedIn stuff, sending my CV. Looks great. Now I'm sure you've got solid experience. They say they already developed an MVP. Sounds familiar. Once again, I'm sending my GitHub, my email address. It's all public. And then he's sending me the invitation. I'm saying invitation accepted. And this is what happens. I open the repo and I see then exactly the same code as the months before, from a different guy, the different company. It's just a different name, right? Just for the context, this is AI medical startup. Okay, so we kind of provide the medical assessment based on AI, and people have their account, and the doctors have accounts, all that stuff. So, I mean, for me personally, it would be great to design and build such a system. Obviously not with these guys, because they're not building anything, I suppose. I mean, I'm 95% sure it's not just a poor development culture, so they share the code with anyone. I think this is kind of like a sophisticated scam, but I will come to that later. So yeah, I'm seeing the same code and I'm thinking like, I didn't get some more information from these guys somehow. And I was trying to investigate the code from the perspective of geographic location, like where they're based, how they operate, etc., etc. So I'm making a pause and then I'm asking quick follow-up so I have a better understanding. In which geographical regions the product is going to operate, at least in the beginning? He completely ignores the question. I'm asking it again. And he's saying that the product will operate in the United States. And that's our primary target market for the MVP and early adoption phase. Sounds reasonable. But for some reason, I see the Paytm dependency in the code, which is a fintech provider operating in India. Boom. Not in the United States. So they want to run the MVP in the United States, but for some reason they're using the payment provider from India. I'm asking, like, why this happened? Why you have this dependency? Yes, he's making steps back, like dependency is not essential, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you see the plot. However, I mean, I already made the first product review, so I just renamed everything in my initial document and have sent it to this guy back. Any updates? It's silent. Okay, at this point I'm realizing the main purpose of both these communications was not for me to give my design review, obviously not to hire me for the job. The main purpose was for me to run the code locally on my machine. However, because I did it in an isolated Docker environment, the case was closed for them. They were no longer interested. And now for the third case that happened today. Basically 5 months since the first two. And this is the new level. Started on LinkedIn again. However, they now have 2 accounts and they have a website. So this beautiful person is messaging me saying that they are sharing with me an exciting opportunity to get scammed, to join the team. Web3 platform for decentralized. Okay, so basically it's just gambling, okay? And they are currently seeking a product designer. You know, because this case looks different from the previous 2, I was kind of even a little bit excited, like, why not? At least I will investigate how the team is structured and everything related to that and how just the company operates, what the project is about. I'm always open for the communication because, you know, if the team is great and if the development culture is great, if we actually building something complex and cool and for the user's benefit, I'm always open for such roles. So I'm saying that it all sounds great and we are planning the call. So that's what's different. We are now planning the call. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a different thing. It probably should not be a scam. However, I am prepared. So we planned the call for the next day, and today I had this call with a different guy. Don't want to expose his name, obviously. And this is how it went on the call. The whole call was like 45 minutes. The guy was sharing with me details about their platform, their product. But the weird part happened right at the beginning. So we both had our videos enabled. But after like several seconds, he said that the connection is poor. And so he suggested for me to just go without video. Well, actually connection was absolutely fine. And I was clearly hearing him. Okay, not a big deal. We are disconnecting the videos and continuing audio chat. So for the first 20 minutes, the guy was explaining to me things about the platform. And actually, I was just hearing the list of buzzwords related to Web3, blockchain, gambling, prediction markets, nothing specific. Then he asked me about my experience and I shared what I can share because I'm still under NDA from my company from 2 years ago, where I've been actually working in a really great team, in a really great company, building the real blockchain products for different brands. We were onboarding cool clients and everything, but I could not disclose all the names. So I just shared my product experience of building this product, designing, working with engineering team, solving complex problems in a creative way, basic interview stuff. Then 30 minutes passed, he shared with me the Figma file. I'm opening the Figma file and I see actually it was like amazingly poorly designed mockups. Just a bunch of crap, nothing like clear user flows. But okay, it could be just a very early stage. But it all looked like a basic gambling casino. You know, all the poker cards like poorly designed, all this like a jackpot. You got a jackpot. You got a jackpot, bro. Jackpot to get scammed. Like the whole Figma part was basically like 20 seconds, not more. Because immediately after the Figma file, he is sharing with me the GitHub. And he's saying, okay, we are building the MVP as an open source now. Why would you build a casino as open source? I'm thinking, but okay, maybe it's just a development culture in this company. So I'm opening the GitHub link, and this is what I see. Well, this looks different. So I'm going to the code, I'm looking at source, I'm seeing that they have like components, very nice. For the buttons, they have like a button, and then they have a separate component for the close button and hamburger button. I mean, I'm like, okay, it's not how the good design system should look like, but whatever. And then I'm kind of like excited to know why does he want me to see the code at this point? Isn't it a little bit like too early? Maybe we should have like a kind of communication with technical team and engineering people. I don't know. But yeah, he is asking me then to share my screen. I'm sharing my screen and we're both looking at this code. He's then saying to me like, could you please clone this repository and open it in your code edit? I'm like, I'm really sorry, the name. What are we exactly looking at here? He's like, yeah, we're just looking at the code. I mean, I can look at the code on GitHub. I don't need to run anything locally. He's like, no, you don't need to run. I just want you to open the code editor. Do you have a cursor or VS Code? I'm like, bro. Well, I was not saying bro, but I said, look, I have all the tools that I need to run and build any application that I want. It's not the question. The question is, why do you want me to do that? And he was like kind of like making several steps back because I think he realized that the conversation will not go really well for him because I'm not going to, while I'm sharing my screen, to download the repo, to run it on my local machine, yes, with all my credentials on the screen, probably with my like a login system on whatever code editor I use. And I was telling him like, everything related to how I run the code is absolutely my personal private information. And if you want me to do that, I will happily do it as a part of interview process, but I will 100% do it on my own without screen sharing, and I will run it once again in isolated Docker container. This is what I suggest for you guys. If even after this video you still want to proceed with such an opportunity from the LinkedIn people who are reaching out to you, I completely understand. I will also be proceeding with such opportunities, but always run everything isolated. And after he realized that I'm not going to run the code while sharing my screen, the conversation kind of died because he realized, okay, case closed probably. So we agreed on several next steps, like I will meet an engineering team. I'm excited to meet a team of scammers. And yeah, so I should send my most recent CV, which I already did. Like, why not? I mean, I'm ready to proceed with all of you guys further because I am genuinely interested in how you guys actually scam people. Because here is the truth. None of this code from the first look is obviously malicious. When I was running the first repos in isolated environment, I fed all the code to the LLM to analyze for the potential like risks and safety concerns. Nothing was obviously malicious. However, in this code, which is a little bit different, we can look at the package.json file. That's the first place where you need to look at if someone is sending you the code, because here you can actually see which dependencies the code base relies on, which is very helpful if you want to kind of investigate what's going on after you run. And in this code, I see the bunch of scripts which are executing some server. What's happening on this server, you might ask? Okay, honestly, I don't know what's happening on this server, and I don't want to waste my time investigating it. However, I had a look at the server file, which we can do together. Nothing here is suspicious. I would say just poorly designed MVP app. However, coming back to the scripts, I'm not a security guy, and I don't want to spend time learning it. But from my understanding, those servers can run delayed commands even after you finish your build. So if you expose anything like your environment variables or your tokens or whatever, your GitHub credentials, just while running this code on your local machine, these servers can somehow get advantage of it. I don't know how, and if any of you guys have a better knowledge and understanding how such systems work, please let me and everyone else know in the comments. I really want to investigate it further, but I just lack a technical knowledge from the perspective of cybersecurity. So what's the real insight here for all of us? First of all, they are targeting developers, and probably they are targeting junior developers more than anyone else. Because for the junior developer, I can imagine if during the interview process on a call, you're not comfortable in someone else's code and you kind of want to get this job, right? So you will more likely proceed with instructions coming from the recruiter. And just don't do it. Just tell that you will do it yourself later on, and then after you will send your code assessment or whatever you are getting hired for. And the dangerous part here that everything looks normal from the surface. Like the code is just poorly designed web application. It's nothing really malicious in dependencies. Those scripts points to the server, and the server from the first glance looks just like poorly designed, bad, like MVP server without a clear purpose. I don't want to investigate it further in the code base. I don't want to waste my time there. But from the first glance, this code is okay. It's not at least dangerous or malicious in any form. But the pattern, this is what concerns me the most. Once again, with the gap of 1 month, two separate guys from two separate companies reached out to me suggesting the job, sending me the code on the GitHub, which is exactly the same code, just different names, asking me to run this code locally. And in both cases, when I send back my assessment and I have run this code in an isolated environment, they both disappeared. The third guy from today's case actually had a call with me and was asking me to run this code while sharing my screen. It's a different code, and it also looks safe from the first glance, but the pattern is obviously the same. What are they after? Honestly, I don't know. I'm not a security guy, once again, but I believe they after maybe developer fingerprinting, like how we build, how we deploy, which editors we use. Maybe they are for our environment variables, maybe for API tokens, maybe for our SSH keys. Maybe even for the browser sessions, maybe for something else, maybe for the crypto wallets. I mean, because these projects, they all related kind of to AI and crypto in some way. And once again, let's focus on this. This part, I'm not really deep into servers or anything like that, but I believe that this part means that it will run on install, which is absolutely 100% dangerous. You don't know what this server is. Even if you investigated the file, you have no idea what kind of external connections this server relies on. So the final conclusion is that this type of scams, I will still call it scams, even though maybe it's just poorly designed startup kind of development culture. I don't know. But for me, it's a scam because of this pattern. So the interesting part here is this is not an obviously malicious code being pushed on your machine. This is kind of sophisticated social engineering. When they profile you on LinkedIn, they have a communication with you now from different accounts, like an HR account and a technical guy account, who is also supposed to be a CEO. And it looks like just like a bad startup. But anyhow, your environment, how you build, how you deploy, how you develop, how you run code, it's your personal information. Never expose it. Everyone is a target today, so stay sharp. And wish you all the best, guys. That's it for today. Bye-bye.